In this edition of Big Deke News, we go over Chase Claypool's interview with I Am Athlete, Kenny Picket quarterback comparisons, and more evidence is revealed about how Seven's final season with the Steelers was hijacked. All that and more on Big Deke News. If you haven't heard, Chase Claypool was asked about his expectations for the 2022 season on the I Am Athlete podcast. Here's what he said.
I am not like the rest of the guys in the NFL.
Talk your talk,
I know I'm a top 5 receiver.
Yeah.
I know I'm a top 3 receiver.
I love the confidence. I love that he acknowledged something that I and probably most of Steeler Nation already thinks. Top 3 to 5 receiver, that's what you should be. Top 10, worst case, but that's definitely what you're capable of. Fortunately, we did talk about Claypool a little bit whenever we discussed who we think should make their first Pro Bowl for the Steelers in this upcoming season. And here's what I had to say. I'm saying 1,200, 8, 9, maybe 10 touchdowns for Claypool. That will get him in the Pro Bowl. I think he could do that. He's capable. This is like not something I think is so far-fetched for him. This is almost my expectation. At least it's good to hear everyone's on the same page. Me, Claypool, we both agree the type of numbers he should be putting up in 2022. But I said this type of shit last year going into 2021 because I thought Claypool would have a significant jump from his rookie to sophomore season. Alas, the sabotage was in on Seven's final season, though that is something we'll get to later in this edition of Big Deke News. But I also think Claypool didn't necessarily do himself the best of favors with some of the 50-50 balls and also falling on his feet. Probably could have had a couple more yards last year. So here's the top 3 receivers from last year, just based on stats. And actually, we'll go top 5 and we'll use receiving yards. So Cooper Kupp had 1,947, Justin Jefferson 1,616, Devontae Adams 1,553, Jamar Chase 1,455, and Deebo Samuel with 1,405. The first 4, Kupp, Jefferson, Adams, and Jamar Chase, all had 10-plus touchdowns. Deebo Samuel had 6, but let's not forget about his rushing statistics. Not to rain on Claypool's parade, but currently he is not a top 3 to 5 receiver. And to get in that stratosphere, he's actually going to have to put up better numbers than what his projections are based off who the top 5 receivers were just this last season. And even if you go back to 2020 just to show that 2021 wasn't some type of outlier for receivers and their numbers are too inflated or anything, DK Metcalf put up exactly 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2020, and he ended up being the 7th best receiver. So let's not worry about all the semantics of a top 3 or top 5 receiver season. Let's just focus on maybe top 10, because if you put up 1,300 yards and 10-plus touchdowns, you are doing pretty damn good for yourself. The Steelers are happy. The fans are happy. Claypool's happy. Everyone's happy if Claypool puts up those type of numbers, and then we could start arguing on whether Claypool is a top 7 receiver or if he's in the top 5. Just put up 1,300 yards, 10-plus touchdowns, and then we'll worry about the semantics later. Another little thing I liked from the interview was when Claypool was asked about if this Steelers season is going to be a rebuild.
I don't think we're going to have a rebuild year at one point, but it's not going to be any time in the next 10 years, I don't think.
So y'all not rebuilding, right?
No, absolutely not.
He's right. We have the highest paid defense, and we've upgraded at every position across the board outside of quarterback. Think, we've upgraded receivers, we drafted Pickens and Austin, we've upgraded the offensive line, upgraded linebackers, upgraded cornerbacks. We're going to be healthier on the defensive line. Najee Harris is going to be in his 2nd year. Pat Freiermuth is going to be in his 2nd year. So yes, if we went 9-7-1 last year and the metrics weren't really in the Steelers' favor, whenever you're talking about overall defense, rush defense, and offense as a whole as well, if we're going to make improvements in all those areas, why can't we go from 9-7-1 to 11 or 12 wins? Seems like a slam dunk to me, but Claypool, he actually one-upped me. I predicted 12 wins on the podcast a couple weeks ago whenever the schedule dropped. Actually, wow, not a couple weeks ago, a month ago. Time flies. But I predicted 12 wins. Claypool, he has predicted 13 wins. Watch out. And to put a bow on Claypool's interview with I Am Athlete, which was pretty good. You guys should check it out. It was like 30 minutes long. Talk about TikTok a little bit more than I would have liked, but at the same time, it was still a little bit interesting because Claypool takes you behind the scenes on that. End of the day, if he wants to say he's a top 3 receiver, I'm fine with it. Show some confidence. Nothing wrong with that as long as you could back it up, because I do think Claypool is capable of being in that stratosphere and has that type of potential. Let's see if he's going to do everything this offseason and in the upcoming season to make that happen. Next segment, though, we are still heavy on I Am Athlete and their podcast because a Pitt legend, LaShawn McCoy, was talking about Kenny Pickett and had a quarterback comparison.
Kenny Pickett is the truth. If you watch his last year in college, he was going crazy. Listen, I'll say it like this. Joe Burrow, Kenny Pickett, I can't see the difference. Only thing I see a guy that's tough, and I say that because he went to Pitt.
Is I Am Athlete just stealing my takes? Did Claypool listen in to the podcast whenever I gave my projected numbers for him in 2022 and just said, all right, I'm going to take that and just add 100 yards? Did Shady McCoy listen in to whenever I gave my quarterback comparison for Pickett after the Steelers drafted him and I said it was Joe Burrow? At least give me some credit. But nah, I wasn't the only one saying this. I do think the comparisons are valid, though. Take the two quarterbacks, Burrow and Pickett. Both had above average to average college careers until their senior year, which they absolutely broke out. Joe Burrow ended up throwing for over 60 touchdowns, won a national championship, and won a Heisman. Whereas Kenny Pickett, he ended up leading Pitt to the ACC championship, threw for over 40 touchdowns, and became a Heisman finalist. And stop. Before you say, Burrow was better, it's not even a comparison. Don't forget, Joe Burrow was throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. And also, the expectations or the caliber of program that LSU has been over the years versus Pitt is pretty drastic. I would say Pitt's elevation to ACC champions last year was a bigger jump than LSU just winning a championship back a couple years ago when Burrow was at the helm, because Pitt's 2021 season was probably the best season the program has had in the last 40 years, probably since Dan Marino, whereas LSU, they're always in the mix year in, year out for an SEC championship. They're always trying to get in the college football playoffs. Those are just the expectations. So what Pickett did with Pitt is nothing to sneeze at. And before we close out, we have further developments on a story that Big Deke News has been all over like flies on dog shit. I mean, the reporting, the accuracy, the detailed work that has been put in by me has been impeccable. And it's not like we need this new information at all because it's basically already a case closed scenario. But there is more evidence being revealed that Seven's final season was in fact sabotaged. Jerry Dulac, Steelers insider, said on 105.7 The Fan, I have no clue where that radio station is, but he said in an interview with them that players last year were upset with Matt Canada's formations and play calling. Have a listen. Players were upset with formations that were being called, which were out of sync with everything else that was going on. It was somewhat chaotic, so to me, that's the biggest thing that has to change. Goes on to say, when talking about the offense, well, we better be expansive because what we saw last year, especially the last 8 games, were really downright dreadful. When the only reason, I don't want to say the only reason, but if you look back, they won 9 games and 7 of those were in the fourth quarter or overtime with game-winning drives by Ben Roethlisberger, who at that point in time said, you know what, we're just going to run the hurry up the way I know how to run the hurry up, and we're going to try to win this game. Stop lying to yourselves and thinking that Ben was done. No, the fix was in. The organizational malpractice and mutiny that occurred last year made sure that he wouldn't be back. Again, it's a damn shame. I don't know what more adjectives or words can be used to describe it. It's egregious. But the truth will set you free, and that's what Big Deke News is all about here, and that is the truth. And that is it for this edition of Big Deke News. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about Claypool's interview, top 3 to 5 receiver expectations, Kenny Pickett quarterback comparisons, or the ongoing story of Seven's final season being hijacked. Let me know down in the comments. Stay chillin'. Peace.